session, and we'll be able to kind of gauge where people are coming from and kind of some of the responses we get there. So I look forward to your input both in the Q&A and as well as on the polls. And so we'll get into the content here as we go, and just wanted to take 2 seconds to tell you a little bit about PowerObjects. So you know kind of our perspective and where we're coming from. We are a Microsoft Dynamics CRM partner, and so we're based here in Minneapolis, is where I'm talking to you at from today. And we have offices throughout North America. We were founded back in 1993, and since then have made a shift to be 100% focused on dynamic CRM and some of the adjacent technologies in that family. We did just get our 3rd Partner of the Year award very recently, and so we're proud of that. We consider ourselves a top partner in the world related to dynamic CRM. So obviously tie in there for marketers using CRM, which is the basis for the content here today. We do have a diverse staff, and we have a ton of resources on our website for CRM users, including related to marketing. So if you haven't visited our website lately, read through the CRM book on the website lately, lots of content there, videos and so forth. So some content that you can follow up with after the fact. On the similar note here, we do provide 4 things related to dynamic CRM. Those include service, so implementation, migration, other kind of general services related to CRM. We provide support, so we have the largest support desk outside of Microsoft for dynamic CRM specifically. We have a long list of education options, including for marketing and business intelligence and kind of holistic education for CRM, of course. And we have add-ons too, so we have our own technology that we've helped kind of add to and extend the functionality of CRM via specific technologies, so things that plug into CRM to use for marketing and to use for other functional areas, again, aligned with dynamic CRM. We also have a few things that make us distinct or unique as a partner, in that we kind of focus in 3 different practice areas is what we call them. So these are kind of, think of them as horizontal areas where we add value to all kinds of customers using CRM. So I'll just go over these super briefly. Customer care, you know, things like USD and other technologies that help extend CRM. We obviously have a marketing practice, which I head up, that has both our Power Pack add-ons, those add-ons I mentioned, as well as things like dynamics marketing, social engagement. We have customers and do wide arrays of support for those tools, as well as kind of core CRM for marketers. We also have a practice area devoted to mobility, so important to understand where mobile fits into your CRM and your business, and we certainly have a large area of focus there as well. So some pieces that make us distinct and obviously help extend CRM throughout the organization. Another note as we get into the content here, CRM for the CMO. Why this topic? So I think there's a few trends, and we'll go through those trends here today, but in general, what we wanted to try and address was the need for marketing leaders and marketing technologists to have a go-to resource, because they're becoming more accountable. They're becoming more accountable for the data that's flowing through CRM. They're becoming more accountable for things like revenue and demand generation and conversion rates and all that sort of hard metrics that hold marketers and marketing teams and marketing leaders really accountable at all levels. And so CRM is a great tool to leverage to address that increasing accountability, and we'll talk through why that's important and how that comes to pass. The other thing that we've seen in having hundreds and hundreds of conversations with marketers is that oftentimes there's a knowledge gap. There's a knowledge gap in terms of what can CRM do for us as marketers? How can we connect this solution to other pieces of our marketing mix, whether it's digital, whether it's marketing automation, whether it's any emerging channel or any emerging tactic that we're going to want to apply. There's often a knowledge gap to how do we make that happen, and what's our cleanest path to get there, and how do we start to break down some of those silos. So there's definitely a knowledge gap, hence the need to create both this webinar and the ebook that's kind of the foundation for it. So I don't think I mentioned this yet, but there is an ebook out there on our website. You can also find it at this bit.ly link for easy download, no form. It's just free to download. It's a resource that kind of takes another step deeper into the content that we'll cover today, and I think is a resource for marketers who are trying to fill some of these knowledge gaps, as well as that last bullet there. So giving marketers ammunition and guidance into address some of their big challenges, address some of the challenges about understanding customers throughout the life cycle, understanding and acting on the data that we have about customers, digital channels, and so forth. So I want you to take the content that we have today, and we'll take the polling questions and put some research together around those, as well as the conversations that we're having with our customers constantly. But also the ebook, I think, is a resource that I want you to leverage, and would love to hear your feedback on that too. So I encourage you to download that if this is a topic that is interesting to you. In terms of kind of a story that I like to tell, and a piece of kind of insight that I like to share, and I think is relevant in a lot of the conversations that we have with our customers, is one that's related to what we're looking at here. So you may recognize this, you may not, but this is actually just an interior page from the IKEA product catalog. So IKEA, global brand, household goods, has definitely a unique brand image, a unique brand kind of reputation, and their catalog is their annual asset that's really a kind of tried and true representation of their brand in general. And so it's an extremely important asset for them, and goes, throughout the world, is reprinted in all sorts of languages. And I heard a stat the other day that it's actually, there's more copies of the IKEA catalog printed and distributed every year than there are of the Bible. So it's extremely popular, and again, a representation of their brand. The thing that makes it interesting, and you may be asking yourself, what does this have to do with CRM? I think the tie-in there is a general kind of overarching story for marketing in general. So we have a shift that's been made by IKEA intentionally to solve some specific issues, and to kind of amplify the experience for their customers in a lot of ways. So the fact that it was released last year was that 75% of the catalog is actually produced via graphic design. So what you're looking at, what you can kind of see in the background, may or may not be, actually is more likely to be computer generated rather than kind of old school or digital photography. So graphic design is the way that they're moving their images, and with the advances in technology, you oftentimes can't tell what's graphic design and what's photography. And so big shift and a big kind of statement in terms of how they were going to produce this brand asset that's so important. How they did that was they actually kept their photographers, and they trained a lot of them in the computer-aided design tools. So rather than starting with people that were experts on the technology, they took people with an eye for design. They took people that had this visual training, visual experience, and helped them learn the tools. So an important distinction, and I think one that's relevant for marketers in all stripes, is this shift from design and creative orientation to more of a technology orientation in a way that is not sacrificing the experience, and not sacrificing or doing away with the people that have experience building brands and have that experience in a creative atmosphere. So kept the photographers, they trained those folks, many of those folks in CAD, and the result was obviously a significant reduction in costs, and they were able to adhere to and cater to global consumer preferences. So if you imagine IKEA is a global market, serves a global market, and kitchens in Tokyo look a lot different than kitchens in Houston. So if they want to sell to both of those, and they want to have an experience in their catalog and online for those different locations, especially in the household, they need to do that in a way that's going to be scalable, in a way that's going to be easier to produce, and easier to have the same experience but catered to those specific locations. So at the end of the day, what we're really talking about here is automation in several different layers without sacrificing the experience for the customer. So certainly a tie-in there to understanding customers, using data, using technology to then connect back to what we want to represent as a great customer experience. So just thought it was a neat example, and one that is certainly literally on people's doorsteps every year, and is brought to life by technology in a lot of cases. So today, as we focus on that CRM for the CMO and how we move from having CRM as more of a tool for other pieces of the business to CRM being the go-to tool for marketers, we really need to think about that in terms of three pieces here. So we've got kind of a new reality. There certainly are trends that are shaping marketing, have already shaped marketing, and have shaped customer behavior. So we need to be thinking about that. I think the context there is important. We also need to think about what the role of CRM is today for our organizations, as well as what it could be in the future. And so we'll look at how some of that comes together. And then above all, I think modern marketing at all levels in all sorts of industries really is about going and doing things and experimenting and being able to measure results and kind of having that path and that mandate to seize the opportunity for marketing, especially related to CRM. So we'll look at how that comes together during today's session as well. If we think about kind of one quick poll question before we get into the content, I always like to get a taste for how you're using CRM today. So this can be all across the board. You'll see the poll questions there. I'd encourage you to answer those, and we can get some real-time input from the audience here today. That would be great. As an aside, and as you read through and think that through, we see this take, from the very basics of, I think I have a CRM login somewhere, but I haven't logged in for months, to CRM is the cornerstone of how I do marketing, how I plan marketing, how I execute, and how I analyze marketing. So there's really no standard way that our customers and the people that we talk to are answering this question, but would love to hear where you're coming from today. And then if you have other comments, would love to hear those or have those in the Q&A or chat function as well. Would be great. So when we start to think about that, though, and as we start to build out kind of what our strategy is for CRM and what our strategy is for doing marketing and moving the needle in terms of our marketing results, in really facilitating more of a holistic view of the customer driven by marketing, really we're faced with four trends that lead us to one conclusion. And so I do like to, again, set some context, as we said, about where we're coming from and where we're going as a marketing function. And I think trend one, I'm sure you all have experienced this in some degree or another, but we're talking about a changed buyer. And so the quote from the CMO of Kimberly-Clark, big consumer brand, and obviously needs to be tied in with consumer behavior, is he no longer believes in digital marketing, quote unquote, but marketing now just happens to occur in a digital world. So we're marketing in a digital world rather than having some kind of siloed digital marketing approach or tactics. So the world has changed. Now people are really taking digital first and engaging with all brands of all sorts in a digital first kind of mindset. An example of this specific to Kimberly-Clark is what you see down below there. So they started their Facebook page actually a little later to the game, I suppose, but now, and this was the last time I looked, they had almost 1.5 million likes, 3 different applications that were built on top of Facebook that live on their Facebook page, so an extension of that functionality. And of course, as their Facebook page, they've got photographs, videos, offers, events. All of these things are living in this Facebook ecosystem and really being a part of people's lives, in this case the Huggies brand within Facebook, is something that simply wouldn't have been possible not too long ago. And so to help tap into that and help understand that, we need to understand consumers and the changed buyers that are out there. That's a big trend. The next trend is kind of thinking about it in terms of, moving forward is often less risky than standing still or iterating on something that we're doing today. So this is you may have seen this little image, talks about Uber not being a vehicle owner, but is a large taxi company and has really disrupted an entire industry in a lot of ways. Facebook we talked about, so media provider or owner that creates no content. Alibaba, largest retailer that doesn't have any inventory, and Airbnb disrupting real estate. The point here is, of course, that whether your business is in these markets or not, or in these kind of industries or not, there's a real shift that's happening to rethink business models and to rethink how things are happening and cater to the customer's needs in a different way. And so I think CRM does have a role in understanding customers, certainly, understanding what's changing in terms of customer behavior, what's happening in terms of our sales channel, perhaps, and how we go to market. And so the more that we can use data and use the full view of customers to understand that, I think the better off we're going to be, and we're going to be able to say, let's not try and be the next Uber of whatever. Let's try and cater our business to stay ahead of the competition and see those kind of big shifts happening, because we can understand our customers in that way. Couple, or at least one real-world example of this that can be a little amazing to think about, really. I mean, you think about the home video market. Obviously, you see the store closing signs on Hollywood Video and Blockbuster have since, in the small mom and pop shops for that matter too, on the video side, because in large part to the entry of Netflix. So a whole different model. We're going to mail DVDs to you, and we're going to have that as the method of delivery, but also, you know, think about the application that they built to do recommendations, to do sharing among both your family and your friends about what your queue looks like. So real shift in terms of that sharing economy, and that sharing kind of among peer groups on Netflix was a big part of what made that so popular. But again, not to risk standing still, they've now moved into the on-demand or streaming services, and so they certainly have made a shift there. I mean, it's been a long time since I've gotten the red Netflix envelope in the mail, but now I do stream things off of Netflix, and that's a big shift in, you know, the technology caught up and consumer behavior caught up, aligned with that technology to be served in a different way. So they didn't rest on that mail delivery service. The next piece, or the reality for them now, is now we've got things like Amazon Prime, and we've got Google Play, we've got Hulu, we've got HBO Go, and other entries seemingly every day that are going to compete for that streaming market. And so they need to continue to stay in line with where their customers are going, and they need to continue to have data that's going to back up where they go in the future. So every business, I think, has a real chance to remain competitive using the understanding of the customer, and this is just an example of that was obviously an important shift in a specific market. Next trend is, I think, as a result of those two first trends, the role of marketing has really changed forever, and that's, again, based on consumers. So customers, both in business to business and on the consumer side, have changed, and I think have changed forever. So you look at that first stat, even in a business to business situation, 72% of actual buyers start with a web search. So they're, instead of reaching out or filling out the contact form or, you know, meeting someone at a trade show, whatever those more traditional channels were, they still happen, but oftentimes, you know, 7 times out of 10, now we're starting with a web search if we want to solve our B2B problem, right? So big shift, and one that we need to be thinking about. And, you know, the web has opened up a whole new kind of approach to how we communicate and what kind of information we serve up, of course. There's also, you know, 10 billion Google searches every day, and 78% of those are related to products and services. So we're looking at people wanting to buy things. Where do they go? They go to search to figure out what they need, and they want to look at the messages. They want to start their journey online oftentimes. And I think the next bullet there, the next shift is to mobile. We're looking at ad spend shifting to mobile significantly, and just the way that people interact with the web and interact with content is going to be more mobile focused in the future. So something else to be thinking about, something else that we'll need to be kind of adapting to going forward as marketers, is the shift to mobile first. The two pieces there, again, a couple of research groups put together some findings that were pretty interesting. IDC is predicting that by 2020, the marketing function will really reorganize itself in companies around content first, and then channels, and then consumption. So the traditional silos of, you know, media and PR and other pieces will still exist, but they'll be organized in a different way, and really leveraging and understanding the role of content throughout the buying cycle and the marketing cycle. Next piece, Gartner, many of you may have heard that we were going to have this shift from spending moving from the CIO to the CMO by 2017, but we heard even last summer the person that put this study out from Gartner said it's already happened. We don't need to wait till 2017. We're already there. Marketing spending has eclipsed spending by the CIO on technology. So an important shift, and I think one that really puts the onus back on marketers to make sense of things like CRM and how the marketing pieces all fit together. And we'll talk about that here in a minute too. On the lines of marketing technology, many of you may have seen this visual. It's becoming pretty commonly used in a lot of marketing meetings, and it's the marketing technology landscape that was put out by Scott Brinker from his blog, the chiefmartech.com blog. And so what this represents is supposed to be a scary and daunting visual, right? So we've got, I think it's close to 2,000 different vendors on this chart, and they fit into different categories. Marketing experiences in red, so things like email marketing, social media, chat, video, search and social events. Then we've got marketing operations, so understanding the data sources that we might be tapping into, doing analysis with business intelligence tools and so forth, and then having dashboards and visualizations. So again, pieces of the marketing experience as well as the marketing operations area certainly live in CRM and are tied back to CRM. And then if we go a layer deeper, the yellow area is the middleware, so to speak, so connecting those systems, integrating those different marketing tools to our backbone systems, which is the blue and the gray there, which is where CRM lives. So the backbone, the platform or suite category is where dynamic CRM lives, and then we've got infrastructure underneath that as well. And so the customer fits in here wherever they choose to, but us as marketers, we need to figure out how do we piece this all together. So it's a big issue in a lot of cases. There's no single solution, no single blueprint for how this comes together, but I think it's worth looking at this and saying, what pieces of this are actually important to our customers? What are we struggling with? What needs to be connected in a more seamless way and in a more efficient way? And how can we start to make changes that are going to adapt, again, with the customer experience in mind? The one piece that was added here back in 2015 was the concept of this platform or suite box. And so the reality of this was these logos, including Microsoft, which just showed up on this chart all over the place too much. So the person that put this together decided to put them all in a platform or suite box. And so part of what's interesting here is lots of choices among these 2,000 different vendors and all these different options. But at the end of the day, you actually do need to make a choice on the platform or suite, and the choices are not as wide. There's not as big of a group of choices here. So we've got Microsoft as, we think, the strongest player in this platform or suite group, and so that's where we serve our customers, is related to dynamic CRM specifically. Next piece, on the marketing technology architecture, like I said, there's no one way to get it right, but we do know that the customer record and understanding the customer in CRM has become a kind of a cornerstone of both the tactics and the strategy that go into marketing. So understanding customers, figuring out what segments are going to be the next area to pursue or the next campaign to run, and then what do those campaigns actually look like? What do those tactics actually work? And thinking about the idea that technology, that architecture, those pieces are more important to leaders than ever, which results in the last bullet there. So marketing technologists are in high demand, and the skill set that goes into that is an important one for organizations. So we look at kind of sources from HBR, Harvard Business Review, say we're going to have this rise of the chief marketing technologists. Forbes puts out a report that says technologists are going to rule modern marketing, and then shortly thereafter, we're already seeing that the role of the chief marketing technologist is already changing. So we've got this super fast evolution of this as a role and as a really key need for organizations in terms of setting up their marketing and their go-to-market strategy, as well as the tactics that they want to apply. So wanted to take a quick second and ask another question, another poll question here, and that's related to CRM integration for marketers. And so let's go ahead and pull that poll question up, and would love to hear kind of what pieces are actually integrated back to your CRM, really at any level. So, you know, is it a bidirectional sync, one directional? Is CRM talking to these other tools? And again, similar to our first poll question, when we have conversations with marketers and marketing leaders, their responses to a question like this can be all over the board. And oftentimes they come to us and say, this isn't talking to CRM, how do we do that? Or what's the best way to do that? Or what's the best choice that we can make in terms of, you know, emerging tools for their marketing like SMS or business intelligence or lead scoring, or some of those emerging things can be a big challenge. And so that's part of the puzzle that is being pieced together every day by marketing teams and especially marketing technologists. So I'd love to hear from you all what the current state is for you on integration. And it could be as simple as, you know, there's many of these things that live in the typical marketing automation system. So if those apply, just go ahead and check whichever ones you're actually using and integrating. That would be great. And then, Adam, I don't know if now's a good time to kind of recap some of the poll responses we've had, or how are the poll responses looking?
Let me check. So if you want to start with the first one,
yeah.
What's the most important goal that CRM helps marketers achieve today? 23% said that it isn't used by my marketing team today. 15% said to generate awareness, brand awareness, you know, new leads or contacts through content, events, or social, etc. 15% said nurture existing leads or contacts. Another 15% said nurture throughout the sales cycle. And then 15% said nurture existing customers for retention rates. And then nobody answered the provide insight into buyer's journey question. That was 0%.
Okay.
And then let me close
so
yeah.
Some variation there. That's really interesting, especially the 23% not using. I think it tells us something right there.
Mm-hmm. And for the most recent poll, CRM is integrated to my organizations. Check all that apply. The highest percentages were sales enablement, web forms or landing pages, email marketing, and lead/contact scoring.
Okay. Interesting. So it sounds like, you know, as we think about kind of the people that are using CRM for marketing and tapping into it, they've got you all have some key pieces that you're integrating. The sales enablement one, I think, is not too surprising. Email obviously is a common channel in all ways and can be tied back oftentimes to CRM, and that's great. So again, interesting results, and I appreciate the input there, and we'll try and think through that as we hit the rest of the content here today. That's great. So if we think about those 4 trends, we think about the polling questions that we just talked about or that we just heard about. I think there's a pretty single conclusion that CRM marketing or CRM for marketers, for marketing matters, and it matters a lot. And I think it'll continue to grow in how much it matters and how much it's going to be needed for effective marketing. So here's a study that came out of the Aberdeen group that I think sums it up, and I thought was interesting to kind of see the impact of CRM used for marketing. So what Aberdeen group did was kind of look at a leaders group versus a laggards group. So leaders being people or organizations that had higher than average revenue growth, higher than average profitability, and so forth. So kind of a leaders category compared with a laggards category who has the kind of exact opposite of that. So lower than average revenue growth, low profitability, and so forth. And we see that the leaders group in blue here has 73% of those have marketing campaign results integrated with CRM, so clearly using CRM as the way to tie out the results that they're getting from those marketing campaigns. And then 64% of the leaders group have their marketing automation platforms integrated with CRM. So two kind of factoids about what makes a leader or a leading organization in their market. And I think we can draw the conclusion that CRM integrated to those tools and those tactics is important. On the flip side, we'll look at the divergence of that laggards group. So much lower in terms of both marketing campaign results integration as well as integration with their marketing automation platform as a whole. I think if you look at those 64 and 25%, especially the 64, I think people are figuring out day by day and quarter by quarter, figuring out how marketing automation platforms are going to be applied in their business. It's been around for quite a while, but I think it's still, certainly in some businesses, is on the road to adoption rather than being at the finish line to adoption. So I would expect that 64% will continue to rise, and that would be the one that I would expect, maybe even since this study has gone up even further. So, think about that for your own business. This is obviously, we're kind of mixing in causation and correlation here, but I think there is a trend that the better that we can understand customers, the better that we can understand the impact of campaigns and start to automate some of that experience, the better off we're going to be holistically as a business in terms of our competitive landscape. So one way to do that, and one way that kind of, I think, is an intuitive way to start thinking about CRM is to put it kind of at the cornerstone of the customer journey and start to think like a customer, so to speak. So, typical customer journey, this is a simple example of kind of the path from awareness to consideration to decision making and then to loyalty or that life cycle stage. So these are 4 steps. Your business has its own journey, most definitely, and so you may already have this documented. You may have some thoughts on this. You may, as a marketing team, discuss this or have personas built around this as well. So everybody takes a little bit different approach to this, but I think it is one that we should be thinking about as marketers and using technology to cater to these different steps. So if we think about that, we'd love to hear kind of the buyer's journey in your world and how it fits into CRM. We'll look at how CRM can be used for it, but I'd love to get kind of your input on where you are today. So awareness, consideration, decision, loyalty, those different steps, general steps. Does CRM help track and understand those pieces? And as you're thinking about that and responding to that, let's jump into the 4 pieces themselves and start to understand how CRM fits in and how these come and take shape. So think about awareness. Disposition of customers is someone that's maybe at the starting point is unaware of a need and unsure of the solution that's going to solve their problem. So they may have some pain or some problem that they're trying to solve that's just emerging. So they're building their own awareness of something that they need to fix. This could be, of course, in a business-to-business session, could be a situation or business-to-consumer. Any consumer or customer has the beginning of this journey in some way. So the actions that this customer might take would be to, maybe they're viewing different industry websites. Maybe they're seeing ads in and out of context. So they see a billboard, and then they see a retargeting ad on the web, or any mix of advertising. They're going to be consuming that, and it's going to be altering where they are in terms of awareness. They may also start to begin some research. So they might say, I saw this ad for this new car, saw a billboard on the highway that looked interesting or that looked nice, so I'm going to do some more research online. So there's a journey that starts to happen here, and it typically involves some actions on the side of the customer. The role of CRM here is kind of multifold. So we've got the ability to observe general web behaviors and understand what's happening in terms of our website. So we can certainly track that back to CRM using a tool like Power Web Traffic provided by PowerObjects. So we can say, we just launched this new site related to that billboard or related to an event that we just announced. does the traffic look like for that page, and can we tie that out to the strategy that's being fueled by CRM and inside CRM? We can start to track ad campaign impressions. We can start to, build out lists for nurturing and scoring. So we're going to start to build out if we have conversions on the website, if we're doing lead gathering via any different number of channels. How do we use CRM as the starting point in understanding that awareness phase? So we've got a list of people, we've got a group of people in CRM that we know a little bit about, and we know that they're probably somewhere on the awareness stage of their journey. In terms of data and metrics, so if we start to build out some of that data in CRM, we can start to say, how is our database? How healthy is it? Do we have clean data? Do these data points and these people that are in CRM look like our buyers, and what do we know about them? Once we get kind of a sense of health, we'll also want to grow the database and understand what the marketable audience looks like. Something else we can tie back to CRM in terms of contacts, accounts, etc. We can start to do more account-based web tracking. So if I have key accounts that I want to be paying attention to, I might be aligning their IP addresses in terms of my web tracking to, do we know that somebody from a certain company is on our site? So I can have an understanding of that. Again, pulled back into CRM, important for marketing as well as extending that out to the sales group potentially too. So all of a sudden, we've been pursuing a particular account over time. Now we're seeing web tracking from that account start to spike. That's good. Let's see what we can do with that from a marketing standpoint and enabling sales to make some more connection there or to move the relationship forward. The other thing that we can do is, just track new leads and trends in lead scoring if we have that as part of our tactics. So again, data and metrics tied back to CRM along this awareness phase and stage in the buyer's journey can really give us an understanding of where we're starting from. And, we can start to see whether we have blind spots in the data that we're collecting or blind spots in terms of market pieces that we might be missing. We can start to use CRM as our reporting tool for understanding that. Next piece on the buyer's journey is consideration. So this is when we've when the customer started to kind of make a shorter list of potential problem solvers or providers for their issue. They're going to take some actions. They might do deeper dives into websites. They might download some content. They may even make some introductory contact with sales to get a feel for what that process is going to be like, or have some questions answered at this stage. We can also start to observe some social media interaction. So they may be also following solution provider's Twitter account and starting to get a feel for more information about that in this consideration phase. So with that in mind, we've got a role for CRM too. We've got, let's manage our campaigns. Let's start to tap into the people that we know about and the awareness group that we have. Let's start to move them forward into consideration. So we're going to do email marketing. We're going to, do nurturing for those that we're getting to know a little bit better. We might want to do retargeting in our ad campaigns. We might want to do and apply some lead scoring. We also want to, have some visibility. If there's social media interactions that are happening, whether it's at the individual level or in general, if we know that people are gravitating towards Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or other providers, we can start to observe that and really build it into, again, making this consideration phase more efficient, understanding conversions to this phase, and moving people through the buying cycle at a faster rate or at a more effective rate. So the data and metrics are aligned with that as well. So we've got, what are our lead sources? If we're generating leads via different channels, how do we connect that back to the sources and optimize the mix of leads and campaigns that we're working? You can also think about content conversion. So again, if we think back to the importance of content in the marketing mix and the importance of really companies focusing on content marketing as kind of the core of what they're doing, we can start to look at and really have a good understanding of what content is converting. So this can look a lot of different ways for lots of different businesses, but I think the more that we can tie content consumption out to things like marketing assisted opportunities, marketing influenced leads and contacts, and drawing out loyalty through the life cycle, we can use that observing what content is most popular and what content is most effective as a part of shaping our marketing strategy going forward. So these may be things that you're doing already, but I want to kind of clarify that this is a piece that we can certainly use CRM to help tie out. You also see things like marketing qualified leads and the conversion rates from marketing qualified to sales qualified, as well as trying to grow our follower base on social and trying to evaluate what kind of engagement we're actually having. Again, can be tied back to CRM and can be tied back to where folks are on this journey. Next piece, or next step in the journey, I should say, is the decision phase. So now we've got buyers that they feel like they're informed, they're ready to make a confident decision. So they may have just a few last minute or last steps to go through before they sign on the dotted line. So they might check references, might do a final review, or might be a final test drive, might be a final conversation with someone about the purchase that they're going to make. Then they will need to go through the contract process too. So that's part of the customer experience, of course, is how you actually procure the product or services that you want. Role of CRM in all this, certainly sales enablement for closing. So again, bridging the gap between the messaging that marketing produces and how sales is interacting with the customer or the prospective customer as a part of this decision-making cycle. We can certainly use CRM to track opportunities, and again, back to the marketing influenced or marketing sourced opportunities, we can track that and have an understanding of that and really use that as a tool to help close and help understand the sources and the impact that marketing has had. And we can also set up alerts. So again, we have this symbiotic relationship between sales and marketing. We may need to have some automated communication that happens between the two. So it could be related to lead scoring, could also be related to this decision point. So something closes, let's have some insight that's given to marketing so they know the impact. They may want to do some reporting based on those close rates and the pieces that are happening. Related to that, on the data and metrics side, we'd want to be tracking opportunity sources. Again, conversion rates through the decision phase is important. We can do reporting on product line. Again, if we think back to our marketing strategy and where we're making progress in terms of going to market, we'll obviously want to be reporting on product lines and really understanding where we're making headway and what pieces of our marketing mix are helping make that growth happen. We'll also be looking at things like marketing return on investment and understanding the metrics behind that. Next piece, and again, so now we've gotten people that went from awareness, they've considered options, they've made a decision, and now they're a customer. And of course, in many cases, marketing's job doesn't stop there. So this is one piece of it, but I think it's a gigantic piece and one that's obviously very, very tightly tied into CRM. So in the loyalty or life cycle phase, we've got this disposition of maybe they have just started to solve their problem. Maybe we've been solving their problem and providing a service or product that's been that they've been a fan of for a while. But either way, they're in this phase of we know that this is the right solution for me. So they're either excited to get going or they're excited and happy with the services and products that they've been receiving. So action-wise, we may want to facilitate a customer feedback loop like customer satisfaction surveys. We may want to incorporate a reference program. We also certainly want to provide a transition that's going to be a positive experience from sales to customer success or customer service within this buyer's journey. So we've had someone make a choice to buy. We want to not have them feel like they're left out in the dark after what comes next. So that transition is important and certainly something that CRM facilitates. So if we think about the role of CRM in all these different pieces, these actions that are being taken, we can automate some of that feedback loop so we can provide the customer surveys and other tactics that we can gather feedback can all be automated via CRM. So we're getting back to let's not just think what we know about the customers and how they're feeling. Let's actually ask and have a structured process in place for that. So certainly facilitate that through CRM at the right time and to the right people. We can also create alerts for the sales team or the service team. We can create visibility to potential upsells and cross-sells and future opportunities for revenue. So some facilitation of the experience for the customer certainly, as well as a profitable experience for the business on the side of the future opportunities. So data and metrics related to the loyalty stage, we've got customer satisfaction scores. We can look at things like customer churn and growth and share a wallet, that sort of thing within CRM. We can also look for purchase history and insight that can drive our strategy. And again, if we think back to the Netflix example of understanding customers, helping us really pivot the business and continue to stay ahead of the competition, hopefully, we've got insight that we need to draw out of existing customers that can help us understand where to go next. And marketing can help facilitate that and draw out those insights for the business overall. You can also use some of this loyalty and life cycle information to become aware of who might be an advocate, who might be a key source of referrals going forward, and who's going to be a key influencer maybe in their industry or in their market. So we can start to identify who our raving fans, so to speak, are in our current customer database and leverage that and really facilitate an automated way to make them an advocate for the brand. So if we think about kind of spreading this around the marketing organization, just put together kind of this is actually positioned as a reporting org chart for marketing using CRM. So we can start at the very top, of course, and so at the C-suite, either it's the CMO or the board or the other kind of people that are at that top tier, we can provide them with dashboards. We can provide them with strategic insight and business intelligence, again, using the tools that are inherent in dynamic CRM. We also see some companies will gravitate towards a tool like Power BI. So there's some options there in terms of easily producing and socializing information that's going to be important to that level of audience. I think equally important is the confidence in the data that's going to be producing those reports. And so CRM as the cornerstone of the business and as a cornerstone of the marketing and sales process and service processes, we know that data is going to be strong if we're all working together to draw out insight about the customer to produce that data and to produce those eventual reports. So confidence in the data that we're going to put in front of that type of audience is critically important. We also, see that kind of just one layer down at the business unit leader. Obviously, your organization will look unique, but we do have insight that we can draw out in terms of dashboards for strategic insight for those business unit leaders, and then we may also want to think about the pipeline in terms of the marketing impact that it's having and kind of the lift that we're getting via the different marketing tactics that we're working through. The next kind of piece down there on the lowest or the horizontal level, we've got things like demand generation. So that is where we care a lot about conversion rates and marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads. We want to look at tactical effectiveness so we can get the best bang for our buck in terms of the tactics that we're applying. We're also going to want to experiment and do some testing, and so CRM certainly can facilitate that. And we want to be enabling sales too. So whether that's showing sales what the account or those key contacts are doing on our website, that's one thing, as well as providing content and sales literature and other pieces, making sure that that's where it needs to be at the right time so we can enable sales to be more effective. We do have the other piece around social or community managers. We're looking at things like the social engagement tools from Microsoft to do that, and again, we can surface those in CRM, so we can say, we're doing all this stuff. We know our audience is on social media. We don't know exactly how, but we're going to start to figure that out. So we're going to use social engagement and some of the other social tools to aggregate that data to understand both at the individual and broader level what's happening, and again, bring that all back to CRM so we can draw some conclusions out of it. On the same vein, we've got alerts and monitoring. We can provide strategic feedback, and of course, we can also use CRM as kind of the conduit for key assets that the whole team can share via social. So great example there of kind of, again, using that, using CRM as the hub of that information to enable and really engage via social media. We've got analytics. So from analytics, we'll look at channel effectiveness, budget, and return on marketing investment, ad hoc reporting, and ad hoc reporting with CRMs. If we have confidence in the data, we can really, the imagination can really run wild there in terms of what insight we can draw out. On the brand management side, there is a place for the brand managers in CRM as well, so we can provide some insight to campaigns. We can also do things like ad placement, insertion orders, and rate cards on the brand and media management side, as well as just having a general understanding of the strategy that's being effective in terms of driving revenue. So I think definitely some insight there that can be gleaned from the brand manager's perspective. And then marketing operations, let's not leave the marketing ops people out. We've got the ability to produce and maintain clean data, so performing those kind of either data intake, hygiene kind of processes, or making sure that the marketing and sales process is being adhered to, and that we have compliance there can be a big gain. And then we've got things like pipeline review, so marketing operations can understand what's happening in the pipeline and give some insight there, as well as just technology alignment. So what tools are we using? What tools might we want to extend to, and how is that going to work from an operations side? So on the marketing operations area can be where that marketing technologist sits, and it can be at other areas of the marketing organization too, but I think it ties into the operations on the technology alignment most definitely in many, many cases. Next piece here, wanted to kind of sum up, and I know we're running a little short on time and we did want to leave some time for Q&A, but when we think about what makes for successful marketers and CRM, it really comes back to what makes for successful CRM implementations and programs overall. And so that's why PowerObjects, as I noted before, is organized around 4 pieces. The first one is services to implement and to make your system really catered, customized, and configured to your needs. And so that's how we drive success for our customers in that process, and we call it the proven process. So, have done hundreds and hundreds of CRM implementations, and many of those involve marketing. So we want to give marketing a seat at the table in terms of these projects that are happening around CRM, and really make sure that the CRM system that's going to be in place and the changes that are made are going to continue to serve marketers. Next piece is on support. So again, we've got a team of responsive experts on CRM, MDM, and some of the other technologies that I mentioned, and so can be an important resource to solve problems and to help us move faster in terms of the changes that we might want to make, the channels that we want to add. I think the support piece is critically important for the marketing function. Next piece is on the education side. Pretty self-evident that education for marketers around CRM is a key need, and so we've got some resources there. So we've got kind of the spectrum of just getting started, the basics for CRM, all the way to very advanced kind of tactics and pieces of the technology. We do have our how-to portal for customers, as well as a CRM book online. We also run a series of boot camps that are in person. We have webinars that we produce ourselves for education, and then in the fall we have our big event that's called PowerObjects. So that's here in Minneapolis. We'll have hundreds and hundreds of our customers in town, and it's a great opportunity to network and learn with other folks that are using dynamic CRM, including marketing users, of course. And our next piece is the add-ons. So we've got our 23 Power Pack add-ons and growing. Those add value in a number of different ways, including for marketers specifically. And I think we actually have over 120,000 users or seats of those tools around the world. So very high impact tools that are easy to install, and you can actually do a free trial of each of them. So if you're not familiar with our PowerPack add-ons, I'd encourage you to check those out as well. So really what goes into these 4 pillars is a complete kind of solution that helps marketers get what they need out of CRM and be successful both during implementation and moving forward. So if we think about what's next, think about kind of those trends that have happened, think about the buyer's journey, and think about a few other pieces that I'd encourage you to investigate further. So think through your partner and how they can help you in your own CRM journey and on your path, and think through, giving and maintaining a seat at the table for marketers within CRM. Always, and this goes for any type of project, but marketing included, think big, start small, and act fast. So think about the big vision, think about understanding that buyer's journey and being kind of a power user of CRM for marketers. Oftentimes means starting small and picking off some either tactical or technical issues that you can solve, and we can help you act fast on that. And so, think about that as kind of a long-term plan, but with actions that you can take in the near term. And then, would encourage you to think about Dynamics as a platform that is world-class for marketers. So there's lots of core functionality in CRM, as well as the other kind of extensions of CRM. So the PowerPack add-ons I mentioned, Microsoft Dynamics Marketing, which can be a fit, and we've produced some content on that. Microsoft Social Engagement for social media monitoring and engagement is another powerful tool that is in the Dynamics family and connects back to CRM. And then Microsoft Power BI, so business intelligence built on top of Excel, and then creates those visuals that can be interactive and can create high-impact visuals using your data that's coming out of CRM as well as other sources. So it can be really the cornerstone of insight that is built via Power BI. We've got customers and certainly people on our staff here that have very in-depth experience with Power BI, and we can help shape some of that and again, use that tool to the fullest extent connected back to CRM and marketing. We also have the ebook, as I mentioned, that's available at the bit.ly link, also available on our website. We've done some other webinars and we'll continue to produce content related to this topic, so look for that in the near future. I'd encourage you to reach out if you have any questions. We'd love to hear any questions in the Q&A session or section here on the webinar, and you can also reach me at the contact information shown on the slide. And again, I know we move fast through a lot of the content, but I do appreciate everybody being here today, and would love to hear any questions in the Q&A, and we'll kick it back to Adam to kind of facilitate that.
Thanks, Nick. Thank you very much. Yeah, and as Nick said, there's the Q&A tab on your screen. Please don't hesitate to type anything in. Nick would be happy to answer your questions. So we'll give people a couple of minutes to get their thoughts together. Well, it doesn't seem like anybody has any questions that they want to share now, but please don't hesitate to contact Nick by email. His email's right there. He'd be happy to answer your questions. Somebody actually asked if you can provide the presentation by email. Yeah, the session's recorded, so we'll send out a link to all registrants and attendees probably within the next couple of days after we post it online. All right, so
Okay.
why don't we
Well,
end there? Yep. Oh, I'm sorry, Nick. I want to thank Nick for presenting and everybody for attending. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Nick, were you
absolutely.
going to say something?
No, I would second that, and thanks everybody for being with us today. If you have questions, feel free to reach out, and good luck with using CRM for marketing going forward.
Great. Thanks a lot, Nick, and thanks everybody for attending. Bye-bye.
Bye now.